Morning, Steve.
Morning, Kirsty.
Well, look, you've got a game to recover from last night, a game to get ready for. But in the meantime, we have got deadline day fast approaching tomorrow. Just how busy are you expecting to be today and tomorrow?
Well, thanks for reminding me. All them things are going on at once. I think, like you said in the question, there's a game to digest from last night, which obviously we didn't get the returns that we wanted in a number of ways, and we got a big game, tough game, incredibly tough game on the weekend. So it's really important that that the normal work around them two things, stay at the level that's needed. But of course, transfer window. It's busy at the moment. There's some things that could happen, some things that might not, and everything in between that. So I do think there'll be some players coming in, and I think there'll be some players leaving as well, loans, etc., etc. So loads of moving parts. No official news at the moment, but loads of moving parts. So let's see.
In terms of potential departures, we've spoken previously about Brennan Johnson. Is there any change in his situation?
No, there isn't. I mean, like I said, if something's going to happen with any of the boys that have been spoken about both ways, then it's coming to that time, of course. So we shall see. But no, in terms of Brennan and any other speculation that may be going on, like I said, there's no official news. So we just have to carry on as normal. Boys are in later for training, and like I said, we'll treat it as best we can as a normal day.
How hard is that for you and all your planning when you don't know if you're going to lose a player of his stature at the club, an important player? You don't know whether you'll have him for the weekend. And
well, I think you have to be careful. You don't assume that any player might not be here on the weekend. I think that you have to take the information that you receive from time to time from the club and the points in a certain direction that things may go, and deal with that. So I wouldn't say that there's massive disruption to our planning, apart from some injuries that we've picked up this week, and with it being a 3-game week and trying to manage the usual circumstances around that. So listen, we always have the best plans laid down for games, and it normally goes straight forward. There's always something that comes up, and the context of this week, that it could be with the transfer window deadline, it could be a change of personnel with players coming and going, or maybe not. So we'll just deal with it as it comes. You could be sitting in front of any manager now, and they'll tell you the same. So we're no different to anybody else. There's no excuses. It's just something that we'll deal with as best we can.
What's your gut feeling? Will Brennan still be your player come the weekend?
I'm not really thinking about it because one, you've asked me that question for about 6 weeks, and two, like I said at the start of our conversation, Kirsty, I just really think you've got to focus on what you're in control of, and that's the daily work. So, like I said, the players are reporting later, which was the plan. After a night game, meetings, training, recovery for some boys, all the normal stuff. We'll just carry on as usual.
You're being linked with a whole host of names coming into the club. Batshuayi and Didi, Callum Hudson-Odoi, just to name a few. Are they the kind of players, the calibre of players you'd like to bring to the club?
Well, I think we would all like to add the right players to our squad. Any manager will tell you that. So for sure, if there's some things to be done that we feel it can help us, then I do believe that there's a couple of players, Tavares and Worrall, that they're at the final stages, not quite done, but the process is ticking along quite nicely. I hope I haven't gone too soon on that, because as you know, until things are officially done, then you never quite know. So there's a lot of work going on, and there's maybe some things being speculated that could be very true, and some that couldn't be any further away from the truth. And like I said, probably everything in between that. So, if we get the opportunity to strengthen the squad and reshape the squad a little bit in a way that we feel is going to help us, then for sure we'll be up for it. But it's easier said than done.
In terms of getting ready for this game coming
Yeah.
up at the weekend, big game, Joe Worrall has served his suspension now, but he's been dealing with issues off the pitch. A really sad incident that saw him lose his uncle, the policeman who lost his life very sadly in this incident in Nottingham. How have you been dealing with that with him, and will he be available to play?
Yeah, well, they're two very different things, and their family always comes first. And you're right, Joe has been dealing with an awful tragedy, and has lost somebody who's very close to him, and obviously dealing with the family and etc. etc. So, listen, when any of our players or staff have difficult moments, we like to think that our biggest strength here is how we come together, behind the scenes and on show on a match day. It's something that we're all very proud to be part of how much of a together club we are. So Joe for sure is dealing with the tragedy. We're supporting him as best we can. We've known for since the incident happened, or I certainly have, with Joe, and unfortunately it's come into the public light now. But we're here for him. Like I said, family comes first, football comes second, and we'll help him and his family as best we can.
I guess it does, as you say. It probably makes everything else seem insignificant at the time, but you do have to focus on the football as well, and get all the players ready for that whilst they're coming around him and supporting him as a player. How is the mood around the camp at the moment? Because it's been a difficult couple of games that they've been dealing with on the pitch.
Well, they're two different things. It's we won't take our focus off the football, and we'll be mindful of how we support Joe as well. And Joe's a no fuss guy, to be honest. And however he and his family want to deal with this, we'll be led by him. But he won't want it to interfere in any way, shape, or form with football. And hopefully football can give him a little bit of respite as well. So it's not going to affect our plans. The guys are really together. If anyway, these sort of things should motivate even more, to bring togetherness. So, no, it's a really tough game on the weekend away at Chelsea, Stamford Bridge. We knew these 3 away games before the first international break were going to be tough. They've proved to be that too. Although we've shown some real positive signs in the performances, and on another day, could have got a point or two. So we need to really focus on what we've done well in them games and look at the stuff that we know we need to do better, but be really motivated, certainly to play better than last night, that's for sure, and to go to Chelsea full of confidence and belief in the fact that we can have a positive day. And I feel like the signs in the 2 away games so far have shown us that there's no reason that we can't go there full of belief. We know how tough the challenge is going to be. An incredible squad of players, world-class manager, all them obvious things that we know. We've got to be perfect on the day, but why not?
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Kirsty. Thanks.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Rob. You all right?
You mentioned that away from home you're looking more potent. 3 away goals already. It took you well into the new year, I think, to manage that last season. Has your approach changed quite a lot, and how many chances you're creating and the link-ups?
Well, I'm mindful that we're going into a really tough game on Saturday. So for sure, there's been some better signs in the league performances so far in terms of what you alluded to about creating and scoring goals. But it's still very, very early days, and bare minimum we've got to aim for is to keep that going. I'm also mindful that we haven't picked up any points away from home. So although there has been some positivity, but it's only a comparison to last season, which wasn't very good at all, both in performances a lot of the time and definitely results. But we're just really, really committed to trying to improve all aspects of our game, home and away. At the moment, we'll talk about away games because of what's coming up on Saturday, and we're just addressing every single aspect as we go along. Really committing to the team that we want to become, and to do that, I think we need to take it step by step. So I go back to let's look at what's gone well so far in the games and try and replicate that. But at the same time, we've really got to focus on the things that should be better as well. And that's our culture, is always wanting to do better, always wanting to do more, while making sure that the non-negotiables of the game, the work ethic, the sticking to the game plan, is at the highest level, because there's no room for error in this league. So loads of things to focus on. But I think what we have done definitely so far this season, in the 3 league games, is focused even more on ourselves, on our internal performance, on what we can do in a game, which, to be fair, is what we've believe in anyway. But we know in the end, if you want to get the results and the performances that we all want, then it's got to come from within, and that's really where we've been.
So what's it like having someone in the building like Taiwo, who's scored in 7 consecutive matches? Are you having to revise targets for him?
No, not really. I think for me, it's when something is going really well, I think there needs to be an absolute paranoia about not getting complacent, not taking your foot off the gas, and striving to do even better. And in the end, I think that's what the real top teams, top players, in all walks of life, and certainly sports, do, is that what's been sort of what's gone is never enough, and I think like our work with T at the moment is to keep believing in him, is to keep supporting him, but to keep pushing him that he's got to keep this going if he can. And like I said, the goals are the talking point, and we want that, and every team loves a number 9 that can score. But we've just been really pleased with how his performances have been, how he's trained. He's never lacked work ethic. He's never lacked commitment and application. And I just think now he's really thriving in sort of English football, in Premier League football. Last season, probably some time on the pitch, some injury that he picked up, which were unfortunate. He's had a real good period and experience of understanding what it takes to do well in this league. So he's certainly started well. He's going well. But the ambition has to be to keep improving and to keep going. If he can keep scoring, great. But I want him to focus on keeping playing well as well, because he's a real handful. Paranoia is not normally a positive word, but well, maybe it's the wrong word. Maybe there's a better word to describe it. But I guess what I'm saying is that when things are going well, the mentality has to be to keep improving and not to stand still. And that's where we are with T. What are your early impressions of Chelsea under Mauricio Pochettino? Yeah, I've watched all the games, and obviously, when you prepare for a game, that's what you do. You get into the real detail of what an opponent could look like. Real dangerous team, of course. Some top level players all over the pitch, and can attack in a number of ways. There's some really quick athletic players at the top end of the pitch, and they've also got players that are really creative and can make really dangerous crosses and final passes. And like I said, a lot of their attacks have not been of one way. There's a real variety in terms of how they can penetrate. So we need to be mindful of that. But this is the Premier League. This is Chelsea. It's away from home, and we shouldn't be expecting anything different than to come up against a really good team, well coached, full of sort of world class players. But we've got to stand up to it. We've got to stand up to it and believe that we can have an impact. And I go back to we've got to look at our internal challenges. We've got to look at what we can do, and try and let that be the main focus of getting what we want out of the game. So it's a game that we're looking forward to. That's for sure.
is, I mean, you've talked about focusing on yourself, but it's part of it as well because Chelsea have got another churn of new players, having obviously been through Graham Potter, Frank Lampard, and now another new manager, and it's very early on in his phase. So I guess he's not completely set on how they want to play and which players he wants to use.
I don't know. That's a question for them. They look all right to me, I gotta say. But no, they've in all of the games that they've played, they've had some really good phases of play and some real good attacking moments. And obviously, the game against Liverpool was a real high level game, as you'd expect, between Chelsea and Liverpool. So no, we're fully aware of the players that they have and what they can do and the qualities they have. But let's talk about us a bit more and see what we can bring.
Yeah, just finally for me, we're interviewing Scott McKenna later. Can I ask you what attribute or part of his game or mentality that has really, initially impressed you to earn your trust and obviously become a fixture in your team in the promotion year, and then continue to be a very reliable player despite obviously a number of new arrivals in that time?
Yeah, I think there's not many guys sort of that. I think I'm coming up to 2 years there now. Is it two? Yeah, two seasons and 2 years, which is sort of 3 seasons if you like. We've only just started this one, and Scott's one of not many that has been ever present. So it's been nice to see him grow, as you just mentioned, through that promotion year and adapt into Premier League football. And I feel that that's what he's done. He's he never gets too high or too low. He's a real sort of very committed, very professional player, very engaged in his learning, and for me has taken things nicely into his stride. Of the challenges of, like I said, trying to get out of the league and then dealing with being in the league, dealing with some injuries, and we want to keep him on that upward trajectory for sure. So because there's a lot of growth in Scott still. I don't mean height, because he's obviously a big lad. I mean in his game, that we really want to push him with, and I just hope he believes in himself as much as we believe in him, because we really feel that he's got another level to go to. A little bit of luck with injury. Obviously, it's not the case at this moment in time, but a little bit of luck with injury and a little bit more experience at the level, and we feel that he can keep progressing, and that's a nice challenge to be working with him.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate
it. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Steve. Just one from me. On the transfer stuff, mention players coming, players possibly going. Do you need to get players out so that you can get certain players in, just in terms of balancing the squad, but also balancing the books FFP wise?
Don't know on the latter part of that question. I'm obviously aware that FFP can have an impact with clubs, etc. But I can't tell you I'm an expert in understanding of it. I think for sure you do have to get the balance right with numbers and positional mix in terms of strength and depth for certain positions. So I think that is a natural process of, if some players come in, some players will leave, or if some players have to leave, then we have to replace. So nothing out of the norm really in terms of that. But for sure, we've got to try and get the balance right in terms of covering, the positions that we want, because where we want to be is that we can get options where we can play maybe more than one system, and whether it's 3 at the back or 4 at the back and all that sort of stuff. And don't think we've quite been there yet with what we'd like. Not far off, but so let's see. We're trying to get the balance right, and like I said, when the window closes, at least we'll know exactly what we've got to work with and what we think the right plan might be.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve. Hope you're well. Just wanted to go back to Joe just briefly, if I may. First of all, I know you said he's obviously dealing with a lot right now. I wondered how he was, but also what support the club was actually offering. A few months ago, I actually spoke to Sir Jorio and spoke about the death of his brother, and he said he wanted to get back playing almost straight away as a tribute to his brother.
Yeah, I think, respectfully, I think that it's as Serge's story to tell, and I think it's Joe's story to tell as well. I don't want to speak too much. These are grown-up guys who are very clear on this personal situations, whether it's unfortunate circumstances like that or football or wherever. So all I can say is what I said to Kirsty before, is that our support for him is unconditional. That's what we do here, sort of on and off the pitch. And that's what we're offering Joe at the moment. Beyond that, I think he'll speak if he wants to, when he's ready. All I know is that we're here for him, and whatever he needs from us, he'll get it.
Do you have a decision to make about, not just necessarily in Joe's situation, but other players, whether they are mentally prepared and capable of playing in a big match?
Yeah, that happens every week. That's the life of a Premier League player. So I don't think. Listen, if you mean around the circumstance with Joe.
Well, Joe, other players who might have suffered personal tragedies can happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to deal with that. You hope that it's not often, because of, like you said, it means normally there's a tragedy involved. But there's always context to a player's present situation, and you take all of these things into account. And I think that we in our culture we have a big emphasis on communication, a big emphasis on making time for players, for staff, and try and do it on a level. I say all the time, we don't like to work with a hierarchy sort of attitude. Of course, there's times where people like myself have to take the lead on certain things, but in general, we want the culture to be a real level one where everyone has a similar voice. So, strong communication is something that's a big aspect of our program, and we're always trying to understand where players and staff may be at any moment in time.
Just the final one on league form. I know a lot was made of your away form last year in comparison to your home form. I know that on the road you've been playing well this season, perhaps haven't got the rewards that maybe as a team you deserved. Manchester United game must have been tough on the players. How do you stop that mentality creeping back in where, change it from we can't win anything on the road, we're going to focus at home, to actually we really can get points on the road, crucial points?
Yeah, better luck with decision making wouldn't go amiss, if I'm being honest. So, I'm a big believer in making your own luck, but obviously that went massively against us last week, which was plain to see, and I'm sure enough's been, or not enough has been said about that. So we could do with things going our way, and again, big team, Chelsea, big club. We need everybody involved in the game to be strong and to be, at the level. I'm mindful that we have done a bit better in the two games, but I'm also conscious that we had 0 points, and in the end, it's up to us to change that. So we're just continuing to be on that journey, backing ourselves, believing in ourselves, and not just hoping that we can get some results, but trying to make it happen as well. And Saturday's the next opportunity for that.
Thanks, Steve. Good luck.
You too.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah.
Just a couple from me. I know it's less than just over 12 hours since full-time whistle last night, and you got the players back in a little bit later today. But is there any injury updates, any news you can tell us on that front?
So obviously Worrall's out injured at the moment. Danilo, unfortunately, has picked up an injury as well. Scott has picked up an injury, as you saw him walk off against United on last Saturday. Felipe is back training and was on the bench last night. So that was a boost, really. It has been a boost that he's back with us, because we all know how influential he was for us last season. And I think that's it, really. Yeah. So Wayne is back in training, and I guess is close to being fully fit. And that's it, yeah. So there's a mixed bag, really. Some unfortunate situations that have come our way in the last 7 days, but on the whole, we'll be ready for the weekend.
Just finally, you mentioned about the ins and outs of what we could see over the next 36 hours or so, and
possible ones.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You mentioned as well about hoping to achieve the flexibility to play different systems. And without this meaning to sound like an obvious question, but as the head coach, how important is it to have the confidence and the ability of your players to do that, and have the tools to be able to do that?
Yeah, well, that's what we want, and I think that's what the modern game requires. And even though you might set up on paper that looks like a certain system, I think you see so many teams, and I want us to be the same, where you can play a number of systems in the same game, and just to tweak the tactics on, if you're playing a back three, that you turn into a back four without even knowing, and vice versa, So we see so many teams now that on paper will be a back four, but build up in a three, so that is the modern way. But to do that, you need players that can be flexible in terms of what areas of the pitch they can play in, and we certainly want to be a squad that can do that as well. And there's a bit of work to do on that for sure. I think flexibility in a tactical approach is very modern now, and we don't want to be any different. And a formation is only something that's on paper, really. When you go and play, we want to be a lot different. So that's the ongoing tactical sort of challenges that any coach and manager will have, and we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. And then, like I said, when the window shuts, at least we know the real approach we can have then until things may change again.
This might seem a strange one, but with the international break coming so quickly after the transfer window as well, does that? I know, of course, there'll be a lot of players on international duty, but how much do you welcome that to be able to work with the players who've got?
Well, you deal with it. You deal with it. We've actually got more international players than ever, so there won't be many left behind. But for sure, we'll still have a program for them guys, and which will be bespoke to them and their individual needs, and also the way we monitor the boys when they're away with the international teams. That's a strong program as well, and not just sort of looking at the physical load, but also looking at what positions they're playing, what formations they're playing in, and the role that they're asked to do. So we'll be ready for the international break. It's sort of not at the front of our mind now because of dealing with last night's game and Chelsea, but when it comes, we'll be ready for it.
Thanks, Steve. Best of luck.
Thank you.